Welcome to ZBook's Successful Authors Podcast. And with me today, I have a real power author, Janice Dean, who transforms ordinary communicators from every walk of life into electrifying presenters and leaders. And she's just written a #1 book on Amazon about public speaking. Hello, Janice. How you doing?
Hi, Eric. Great, thank you. I just want to say that it's really not about public speaking.
Oh,
It's about overcoming stage fright.
that is
Uh,
something dear to my
and
heart.
yes, and it's all about that opening moment on stage. If you don't have that set and ready to go and know exactly what you're doing, you could lose a whole speech or play catch up for half the speech. And of course, this depends on if you've prepared, if you're well prepared,
Well,
you will be fabulous. Yeah.
let's get into it. 10 Secrets to Overcoming Stage Fright, brought to you by the most persnickety angel in heaven. And I've read another book that's a little bit similar. Have you heard of Randy Ingham Mason, The Snowflake Method? He goes through how to write a novel, but he writes the novel at the same time. It's like a story. And you tell a story with angels and main characters in this book, and it's really cool.
Well, thank you, and I'll look that up. I love finding out new things.
Yeah, because
I've
it's not a nonfiction book that says this is how you do it, and then it's a story, and it comes across really well. So,
well, thank you.
yeah. So tell us about your book.
Sure. I did not want to write a how-to. I find them most of them boring, and I can't remember. Most of us remember through stories and experiential learning, and all my work is well. I'll get into my background later, but so I tried to think, how can I make this story alive? And was earlier an actress, and of course, all of us read Stanislavski's An Actor Prepares, and he wrote it in the vein of a teacher and his students. Well, I tried doing that, and it was wretched. And I thought, what can I do? How can I bring this story alive with people? And I've worked with over 10,000 people face to face through my acting studio, my audiobook studio, my corporate work, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm 95. I've had 9 facelifts.
Yeah,
That's how I do it
looking
all.
good,
But
looking good.
anyway, um, I was at the hairdresser, and she was telling me about my stylist, and she was telling me about her little grandson, and she tells him about that his back, their wings, and he's a beginning angel. And all of a sudden, that did it for me. And so I started out with we're up in heaven, and we are preparing for the show of shows in heaven, only every 1,000 years. And all the angels are there, the angelic choir, the orchestra, the conductor, the dancers, the actors, they're all there performing, preparing. And suddenly we hear, no, 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 no. And everyone's aghast, because this is not heavenly behavior, right? And so the conductor says, may I help you, dear one? And it turns out that he has escaped his first level 1 in heaven, which is the mail room, and he's sorting letters. And this is a former internationally known opera director in control of all the divas throughout the world. And he's used to running the show. And he's coming up there because he wants to show them how to do it. Well, this goes on for a few minutes, and suddenly he's taken away, and we hear this boom. Maestro Alberto hears a booming voice, and it's St. Michael. And he says, this is not done. And if you continue with this behavior, you'll stay in the mailroom forever. And Maestro Alberto goes into shock, and he says, anything you want, just, and he says, all right, I have a plan for you. And if you succeed, you'll get your wings. That's all he says. So boom, we're gone. And the next scene is he's sitting on a bench and under a tree, and he has no idea where he is. There's no one around. And he's trying to figure it out. He can't remember, he can hardly remember what was said to him. He doesn't know if he's in heaven or on earth or whatever. And so the premise is every time he comes down to earth, he has to figure out what location he is. He now knows it's always on earth, but then he assumes a different body, a different persona, and he has to adjust to that. He has to understand, is he male, female, is he old, young, what? And then he doesn't even know what his mission is. And the mission turns out to be, each time he's on earth, it's someone with inability to connect with the audience. It's stage fright, but sometimes the stage fright is for people who don't even realize they have stage fright, but they cannot connect. And so he either makes up things or calls on things from his life to, because he's very fast and a performance master coach, and he invents things or recalls things that he can use to help people. And then we'll see what happens to him on heaven, whether he gets his goal or not.
Yeah, I like it.
And they're, thank you, they're based on people that I worked with, but I've changed the venue, I've changed if they're male, female, I've changed their name, I've changed everything.
Yeah, it really works. Like I said, I've been reading your book, and
Thank you.
you have over 10 chapters, and each chapter is a secret.
Oh, yes.
And yeah. Now, I don't want to give them all away, of course, but I did want to talk about two, and that was
chapter 2, the
no,
secret in chapter 2.
no, two different secrets for sure. I don't know
Oh,
how many you want to give away. Let me see, which one was it? Let's see. It's no, secret 5. Drop the clever persona. Can you tell us about that one?
yes. First, that's a really good one. And I want to tell you and your listeners why I started with this,
Okay.
why I wanted to write the book, because you may not notice, but I don't have fear with people, never have. And so you might wonder, why was I attracted to this? So all my life I've been involved in whatever and had no fear with this. I have fears, but not with, I had terrible fears writing, but not with this.
Yeah.
So I was running an acting studio at the time, and I had a fellow come over, he registered, and then he clasped his hands tightly and his face was down, and I was waiting for him to speak, and he didn't speak. And I said, well, is there something else? Is there something else that you wanted to say or ask? And then he looked up and in a very tiny voice said, I've always been afraid of speaking in public. And I said, what? Because at that time I didn't know about it, because I'd only been with people who weren't afraid in that area. And in order to audition, in order to be in shows, you have to have gotten over it. So I hadn't been around it, and it hurt me so, it hurt my heart. And I said, what do you mean? I said, you're a lawyer. And I said, oh, you must be an investigative lawyer, not a court lawyer. He said, yes, that's right. And I said, well, tell me about it. He said, well, I went to law school all those years, and I always put my head down when they were going to ask something. And I said, you did? And he said, I couldn't bear to be asked and speak. And it hurt me so much that I had to figure out how to overcome it. And I developed at that time, it was called 6 Steps. What was it called? Hold on a minute. Let me look over here.
The 6-step program. Huh?
6 steps to overcoming fear, it might have been.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so I started doing it. And when people said, "Oh, I've got to talk in front of the boss tomorrow, and I can't sleep. I'm going to throw up," and somebody else says I have to give a toast, and I can't do it, and it hurt my heart because it's so easy to get past it. And so I worked on this with hundreds and thousands of people and kept saying, kiddo, you've got to write this book because you have to leave it for the world when one day you pass. And because I want people to give their gifts and not be blocked. So let's go now on to chapter 5 and that one, drop the clever persona.
So yeah, because you said it's easy, but it's not for people with stage fright.
Once you have the technique, when you first ride a bike, you're scared, right?
Yep.
And then you learn the techniques and you're not scared anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just, learning the techniques, and it's not smiling. It's not all that false stuff. It comes from you. So what do you think it is? I don't know if you've read that far.
No, actually, no. I've just gotten to the first 2 chapters.
Okay. What do you think it could be?
I think if you have airs, if you got to drop the airs, and if you have ideas or standards maybe that you're trying to live up to, or a false persona, then you got to drop it. But yeah, that's my idea.
Yes, you're right on. So people come on with all sorts of clever personas. They come on like cocky. I've got it together. They come on like the diva star. They come on, and this is a persona as well, Eric. This one where, hi, how are you? That's a persona. That's a cover. That's a cover. And so there are all kinds of covers. And what we want, you might as well do a PowerPoint if you're going to do that.
Terrible.
And or you might as well fax it in.
Yeah.
So because we want your unique experience. We want what it is that you have to offer. And honestly, people really, they don't care what you look like. They don't even care if you stutter. They don't care about all that. All they want is that you care about them and have something to help them. That's it. And the best speaker in the world, I'm going to tell you, is Vic Wojcik.
Vic Wojcik. Okay.
He is without arms and legs.
Wheelchair.
No wheelchair.
No wheelchair.
He travels all over the world and speaks to everyone. And if he can get past that, and he inspires, and we must get past whatever fear it is to give our gift because someone is waiting. It's non-negotiable. That's how I feel.
Cool.
And so dropping the persona is, so I give techniques to get past that.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. But before we get to the 3 misconceptions, how about one more of your secret chapters? Okay.
Yes, I can give a little more if you want, but I really want people to get in there and experience it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's do secret 7. Read the audience and adjust. That's a big one. I mean, how do you read the audience and adjust? I'm testing you.
No. It's just that the story that I tell. If a wooden puppet can read the audience and adjust, so can we. So what most do are they have so many barriers and so much stuff going on in their head that they can't get through, and it's all about them. it's all about them and serving them and helping them. And even if it's one, then that one is who you're serving. That one, because that life can change hundreds and thousands. Quick story. I went up to the big theater in London, Ontario. The name escapes me right now, but I heard a story about how they came to be. And the little town of London, Ontario said, we should do something to bring people to us from all over the world. What can we do? What can we do? And this fellow was on the board or the Chamber of Commerce. And he said, I had a high school teacher and she taught us Shakespeare. And why don't we bring in Shakespeare? And so they said, well, what about this star? What about that star? And so they brought them, and the stars, everybody thinks that a star won't do anything. They want to be loved. They want to help. They want to serve you. And they'll come if you ask. And so they created this mega complex in London, Ontario. And it was from one high school teacher giving her passion to the students. This fellow remembered, he passed it on, and now it serves thousands throughout the world every summer. That's why it's important. So in Read and Adjust, it's an owner of an animation studio, and he is blowing it big time with his team. But he thinks he's brilliant. He thinks he's funny. He just keeps missing. And so then Sir Albert Snow, who is now the persona of an assistant to this guy, talks about a puppet show that she had witnessed with her uncle in Chicago. By the way, that is based on something true. There is a little puppet opera show in Chicago, and they do operas dressed in beautiful outfits. But so this is about, you've got to be watching it. Look, you're a dad. You told me that you were putting your kids to bed before we got on together,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And are you watching every movement of the kids? You're watching them, right? When if they're off, if they're sad, if they're whatever, you're watching them, you're noticing, and you do whatever you can to help. So if you come on, if you've planned a big joke to start your talk, your presentation, but you don't notice that everybody is looking dour, everybody's looking a little depressed, because perhaps half the group just received their pink slips.
Yeah.
That they have to, that they're cut off.
Yeah.
If you don't notice that, you are going to be dead meat before you ever begin. So, and the other thing is to always have a bag of tricks in your pouch, ready if you say, oh, they're not looking like that, have something else ready to go, have something else ready to go, have something else ready to go. But if you don't notice where they're at and you don't connect, you will never recover, or it'll take you halfway through the speech to recover. So you have to notice where they're at. It's just a quick little and see where they're at, and then you quickly adjust because you've got it ready. You're ready for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty
Any
cool.
questions?
Oh, well, I have 1,000 questions. You mentioned a bag of tricks. Okay, so what's the number one trick? So you have to have plan A, B, and C, right? And
well, it's up to you. Whatever you like. So, in the beginning of my book, I use a quote that I often use, quoting Apollinaire: "Come to the edge. It's too high. Come to the edge. We might fall. Come to the edge. I can't." So he pushed, and they flew.
Yeah.
So you could do that. You could. I see some people say, if you're in San Antonio and the Spurs have played, you could ask about that. You could know who I'm talking to, what they're interested in. and draw them into that. Ask them to participate in some small way. Do you love it? If you do, raise your hand. If you don't, don't. Or you could have them say hello to their neighbor. Anything at all that you've seen that works, that delights you, that you've used and were delighted. Have them ready. And you could do these little tricks at home with people in your life. You could do them a lot of things. We have we have one grocery store in town.
I thought you lived in San Antonio.
Yes, sir. The sixth largest city in the United States. But they're so brilliant. They just wipe out any competitor. Now we do have Walmart and we do have Target that also has groceries, but it's HEB.
Okay.
And so they're so lovely because in this town they'll help you out with your groceries, no charge, no tip. It's just part of who they are. And so you can practice it on people in the store. You can practice it on the checkers, on the people who walk you out. I'm very tall, I'm 6 feet.
Oh.
And so when I'm shopping, and I love to engage people, when I'm shopping, I'll say, oh, can I help you with that? I can reach that for you. Yeah. And then I might do something, compliment them or whatever, because I love to give compliments, especially to the older gals and men, because, you know, it just makes their day.
Yeah.
It just makes their day.
So I can't resist now. You said you're 6 foot tall. Do you wear high heels to make yourself taller?
I used to wear high heels, but at a certain age, your back starts hurting, or at least mine did. Yeah.
Oh, because that comes across.
My tennis shoes are 2.5 inches, so
yeah.
I love being tall.
Yeah, I think that's to an advantage as a public speaker, right? Especially if you're like in a, for example, a classroom situation. You can, what do you call it? Project to the back easier, yeah. I guess.
You know who are the tallest people in the world?
Basketball players.
No, places in the world. Netherlands.
I knew that. I was going to say that.
Every time I would go somewhere in Europe and they were tall, I said, "Are you from the Netherlands?" Because and I don't like it when they're taller than I.
Yeah, they're the tallest. Yeah.
Can I share with you something?
Yes.
When you're tall, it's a double-edged sword because you're given so much power with the height. So when I was younger, I tried to back off of it. I tried to be smaller then so that I didn't intimidate, because just my height alone and then my energy alone, it on a personal level, it can intimidate. And I didn't know that till years later. But finally I said, you know, this is who I am. And I must be who I am. And, you know, I just say to people, look, if I'm too much, just tell me. If I've hurt your feelings, please tell me. If I, you know, just, you know, it's yours to tell me. So,
cool. Well, you could also be president. I've heard that every president of the United States has been 6 foot tall. I don't know if that's true though, but I've heard that. Have you heard about that?
I have to investigate that because I'm wondering about Grant.
And Quincy.
Yeah, that's a really good question. But isn't it interesting how, let's see, Quincy and his son became presidents, and then Bush and his son became president.
They're all 6 footers.
Yeah, but it's so. Listen, no. I mean, he doesn't know it yet. He's my friend Vic from Australia, the one I told you about. I don't look at presence as height, because people can say I'm short. I said, you know, you seem 6'6" to me.
Interesting. Yeah. There's something about it though. It's there's something about the height.
It's not important. It's not important. It won't save you, you know, because you know, in the first few minutes you've got them or you don't. And it's you know, your love for them, your care about them that gets them.
Okay.
None of the rest matters. Listen, there was a gal, I heard a story about a gal. I can't remember what the condition is called, but I think it's called elephantitis or something, you know.
Yeah. And like Elephant Man.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
a friend told me that she had an aunt who had that, and she had been very beautiful. And and um, and they had children, and the girls invited their friends over, for her friends over. And at first appearance, everybody was appalled and sickened
Mhm.
by the look of her.
Mhm.
But within minutes, it disappeared
Mhm.
because of her joy and her lovely giving nature.
Mhm. That's
So
cool.
I don't want anyone ever to think I can't, because I had a student who is what we call a little person. And he said, Jan, and this was when I was head of the actor training program. And he said, Jan, you always say that we're going to make it. But look at me. And I said, oh, and he had total confidence. I was shocked that it came from him. I said, you above all will make it because you're exotic.
Hmm.
And he did.
Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, you did a lot of things. You've been to Moscow, you've trained actors, you do voice coaching, leadership training. So what is your favorite to do right now? What's your bread and butter right now?
My bread and butter is whatever. Sometimes in my past, I would quit jobs
Mhm.
if I didn't care for them, because, and I was never afraid, because I knew I could create whatever. But I would just always talk to God and say, well, what should we do next?
Cool. Cool.
Then we
Yeah.
just go. But
Yeah.
I do train people how to be audiobook narrators. And what I love is training people to be all of who they are in my field. If you want to be a swimmer, if you want to be a fencer, if you want to be a basketball player, if you want to be a cook or chef, don't come to me. I'm gifted in one little area. That's it.
Mhm.
And all the rest, and I go to all the rest of you to help me in ways that I need help. Like I just hired somebody the other night to clean up the clog on my computer screen, because I produce so many ideas and then I have trouble filing.
Oh
So
yeah.
I hired somebody, so all of us are gifted. We're all here to serve one another. So
Cool.
I
Yeah,
just,
well, you have a website and that's very well laid out. But before we get to all of that stuff,
yes,
we were
ask
going to go
me.
over the three
When
big
you
misconceptions.
when you had stage fright as a
Oh,
young boy.
yeah, that one too. Oh, you want to do that first or the three big
Yeah,
misconceptions?
yeah. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had terrible stage fright. I would whenever I got a award, like I'm bragging, like I had so many awards, but I would not go to the assembly. One time got an award for art, and I hid out in the principal's office. You know how they say, "Oh, go to the principal." I went there voluntarily to hide because I wouldn't go to the assembly to get the award. Oh, my friends were mad at that. They were all rooting for me and stuff, and I wasn't there. And so I had terrible stage fright and still do actually, but
May
I,
I
I
ask you something, Eric?
yeah, sure.
So usually because it's not natural,
Mhm.
it we're not born that way. So
Mhm.
my question to you is, what happened? There was
Mm.
something that happened. It could be your older brothers and or sisters mocked you. It
Mhm.
could be that you got up to do something and you tripped. It could be that you got up and you stuttered. It's something. It could be that Sister Agnes slapped you with a ruler
No,
when you
no,
were
no.
young. It could be so many things. And
That's a good one. I'll have to do some soul searching because I
it's
haven't
there.
been on the stage that much. So, and then it must have been something else, just
Yeah.
the fear of failing in front of people, maybe something general like that. But I can't think of a specific incident now. You put me on the spot, Janice. I
Close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes for a moment, if you
Mhm.
would,
Sure.
and just go back
Mhm.
the first time.
Yeah, it's not coming to me.
Uh,
Sorry.
okay. Almost always people
Yeah.
know what it is, and
Yeah.
probably when we get off today, you will. But what
Yeah.
happens is it usually hits during or before adolescence. And oh, I'm sorry. You're now a rosy red. And
That's my ring light. I can adjust that. Wait a
yes, your
second.
ring light. Yes, of course it is. So, and so where was I?
Well, I couldn't find an
Oh,
example.
yes, yes. So, but the thing is, it happens before you've developed really proper conscious thinking. And so it hits at the emotion and the visceral level. And it just keeps hitting, because that's what you recall, somatic memory. But and after I asked that, it really doesn't matter, because doing the techniques bypass it. And once you start understanding the techniques, it won't happen anymore.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now that you say it, a memory came up, but I don't think it was the one that gave me stage fright.
Well,
When I was a kid, Universal Studios in California,
yeah,
I was about, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, and they called me up for one of the stage shows. And it was the one in the airplane where they do Airplane, that movie. And I was in front of a lot of people, but that wasn't traumatic. So I'm still thinking about it. After this interview, I'll probably come up with it right
yeah.
away. But what about the somatic memory? What was that?
Somatic memory is okay. I work with performers, and whatever that is. So all performers. Oh well, we're getting into, actually this will hit one of the misconceptions,
Oh, okay.
and that is that when I'm afraid, I can't think. So all performers, be it an athlete, be it a musician, be it a gymnast, be it a fencer, be it I said athlete, being a singer, being a musician, being, musicians, not quite so much, actor, being a speaker, all performers face this anxiety. But it's a little bit different with performers who are athletes, because they play the game, but still they have a fear. Am I going to hit the 3-point? So, so let's talk about the Spurs. The coach gathers together the guys at halftime, and he draws a little, okay, this is going to be the play, guys, right? And then they go back out on the court, and say the ball goes in an entirely different direction. They can't make that play. What are they going to do? Make the play anyway that the coach said?
No, they got to pivot.
Yeah, they got to they got to adapt and change. So where was I?
The misconception.
Oh yeah, the thinking. So when the left brain deals with rote step-by-step training, analytical, you can do the regular outline, and it's your thinking. But every performer has to go into thinking, which is, how am I going to build the stage? What am I script? What am I going to do? Da 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 da. They're thinking it through. When you go into rehearsal for an actor, or on stage for most others, when you go on stage, you cannot be in the left brain. Hold on, an example. If you want to join the Olympics and be a skier, right? And for 4 years, 8 hours a day, you're working with the coach, and the coach says, bend your knees here, bend your knees here. I don't know what they do in skiing training, but always do this, always do that. So 4 years later, the fellow's up there, or the gal is up there, ready to go. The gun goes off, and the skier says, now, did the coach say turn left or right with my knees? Where are they going to place?
Yeah.
They're going to come in last.
Right.
Because you have to be in the intuitive moment. You have to be in the visceral moment. Once I read an article on David Beckham, who had been the great soccer player in England, right? And somebody wrote about him, no human being can do what he does. Well, but why? Because most human beings are thinking. It was rote for him. It was somatic memory for him. It was built in his bones, in his muscle memory.
Yeah, okay.
And so once you do something about 3 times, you will retain it, and you will be able to give it, even though it's not, you know, you're not having to move big.
I get it
So
now. It's like learning
yeah,
guitar.
yes.
Yeah.
Your fingers remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Strange. Yeah.
And so, you know, you've got to do rote training, as all the athletes do, right? How many times does a pitcher throw, a famous pitcher throw a ball? How many times does a famous golf player hit the ball? It's got to be rote. Why? So that you bypass the thinking.
Hmm.
And so, yes, things happen, but you have all of that behind you where you know how to pivot. You have all of that work that you've done. That's why football players do the training, but they don't, what is it I've seen football players do? They sort of dance backwards and forwards, right?
Yeah.
You'll never see a football player do that in a game.
No.
That's the technique that they build so that everything is available once you train, once you play. When you play the game, you've got to be,
Yeah.
you see, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Now, after you're done, you go into the left brain again and you assess your performance. What worked, what didn't work, and so on and so on. And then you build anew, and then boom, you're back in the right brain when you perform.
Interesting. Yeah. Right brain, left brain. We could talk for hours about that. I used
Yeah.
to do swing dancing. Dancing is a right brain, left brain thing. And I miss that, you know?
Well, dance is performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Take your gal out and
Yeah.
dance.
Lindy Hop. Do you dance?
I have
Yeah.
taken dance. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
but okay, back
Yeah.
to the misconceptions. Yeah, no more tangents. I'll go on a tangent for
Oh,
hours.
both of us. Yeah. It must be
Okay.
that Southern California beach air, right?
Yeah, yeah, or lack of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, what's the next big misconception?
The next big misconception is when people say, "Oh, I'm an introvert. I have stage fright."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about where the concept of introversion came from. So, in the 1600s was the first time we can find that the term introvert came to pass, and it was a verb meaning turning one's thoughts inward.
Hmm.
Well, later in the 1920s, Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist. You want me to back up and go
No,
slower?
I love Carl Jung. I'm really into that. I
Well,
I know what you're
read,
talking about.
read about all of his life and read
Yeah.
about what he said at the end of his life, before you before
Oh,
you before you before you make your final decision. But anyway,
okay, okay.
in the 1920s, he came up with the premise extrovert introvert.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and before I go into that, let's just talk about labels and who creates them.
Mm-hmm.
Is what he said the truth, or did he create something and call it truth? When Monet did his paintings, everybody said, "Oh, we dubbed this expressionism."
Mm-hmm.
He didn't create paintings saying, "I'm going to do expressionism."
Yeah,
They put that label on him later.
yeah.
And actually, he was blind as a bat, which is how I would see without my glasses. That's why it looks like it does.
Oh, really?
But
Yeah.
anyway, now back to shy and introvert extrovert. So all it means is simply this: that an extrovert processes outwardly, and an introvert processes inwardly. That's it. So I need to talk to understand my ideas, to really get to my ideas. Introverts don't need anybody. They go within and I'm so jealous that they're able to process within and get it all done. But all that other stuff that they put on it, lots of introverts don't have stage fright. And and lots of extroverts do have stage fright. It has nothing to do with that. It's simply a matter of processing and energy expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, the other thing is when you say your spouse, you go to a party and your spouse says, "Oh, I'm drained, I've got to go." And you being an extrovert say, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, let's, you know," and you're more and more energized. It's because you're getting more energy because of this outward stimulation, and they're losing it. So if you think about them running out of gas, please say, okay, let's go home. Please think about them. They really mean they are losing energy.
Yeah.
So so it has, stage fright has nothing to do with introvert, extrovert.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with those psychology, or what do you call it, profilers and profiling tests, because you're not always introverted and you're not always extroverted. It can change. And most of those tests rely on how you answer the questions. And that is also subject to change. But yeah, labeling is a real mind problem, isn't it?
It, hold on a minute. I have to share with you something that I just, hold on.
Sure. Yeah, Carl Jung. So what did you say to read about him and his later life? Because I've only read the basics, and
No, listen, I'm all about primary investigation.
yeah.
So whatever you're looking at, whoever you're blown away with, whatever you admire, just investigate all the way to the end.
Hmm.
How did they live their life? How did they end their life? How, all of it. Now, it doesn't mean that how, if somebody ends their life terribly, it doesn't mean that they didn't have gifts to give.
Mm.
It just means that we're all human, and we all succeed and we all fail.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one's going to get out of this world a complete success story.
Mm. No, 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 no. What were you going to show me there?
Okay. Well, I don't have the rest of it, but these two guys are trapped in a box,
Hmm.
and I can't find the rest of it. And one's saying, well, do you think we ought to try to get out? And no, it's always been done this way. Well, what do you think we should do? Well, I don't know. So finally, one of them puts his fist into it. Can you see it?
What? A little bit lower, please. That's good right there. What have I done?
He
No doubt.
punched a hole in the box.
We'd better patch it up somehow. Yeah, yeah. That's there's a lot of those
So
actually.
what have we done? No doubt a terrible thing. We better
Yeah,
patch it up. And
yeah,
meanwhile, outside
yeah. The
is
sun is shining.
beauty and life and
Yeah,
color.
yeah. There's a lot of those allegories, huh, or stories like that. I can, I imagine the one with the mice, the mouse trying to get out of the jar. You know that one? It's kind of like the box. The mouse is trying to get out of the jar and he's crawling up, and all of the other mice are at the top shouting at him, "Don't forget it, you'll never make it." But the mouse is deaf, and then he makes it out of the jar, and they said, "What the heck's wrong with you?" We said, "You wouldn't make it." He said, "I couldn't hear you." You know?
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
And
lot of
label
those.
can promote us to be caricatures of ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Okay. What's the next big misconception? There were
I'm
three.
shy. I'm shy. And shy has nothing to do with introversion. I'm shy
Mm-hmm.
because you can be, yeah, it is not so shy. All that is is a false fear. Is something happened when you were young, and it caused an inner explosion, an inner misperception,
Hmm.
or somebody said something and it's not true, and it's not how you were created. It's natural to speak. It's natural to want to share, and something happened, and I don't get into psychological ogres. We just do the work and
Yeah,
bypass it.
yeah. Well, that's perfect for my next question. Why is public speaking so important?
Well, it has no importance at all if you don't want to do anything or be anything or give any gifts in your life
Hmm.
of yourself. But if it's, uh, I like to just say to communicate effectively. And we all have trouble with it. Me too. Because I think, well, I said that perfectly fine and people aren't understanding.
Yeah.
And so it's because you have a gift to share, you have an idea to share, and the way you say it, Eric, is different than the way I would say it. But
Mhm.
somebody's going to hear it the way you say it, and they won't get it the way I say it.
Mhm.
And all of us are so valuable. And
Mhm.
this is it. This is it. All those before us didn't have the message you did. All those after us won't have the message you did. This is it. This time on earth. And you were given a gift to speak. Maybe it's a sentence to somebody. I don't know. But it's something. And we must continue. We must continue to speak our truth and what we love always. And yeah, you're going to make mistakes. Who cares? Really, no,
Yeah.
nobody wants you to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
Those,
that. You've got a gift to give. That's really cool. And it is strange, I'm a podcast junkie. I listen to hundreds of podcasts a week.
oh my
And
goodness.
well, okay, maybe not 100, but definitely subscribe to 100. And a lot of them say the same thing, but it's just how they say it is then the one I like. But he's saying the exact same thing as the other guy.
Hold
But
on,
it's
I'm going to bring a book. I'm going to
yeah.
show you a book that every communicator should have.
Oh,
And this is the finest book I found, and it was on a shelf
ah,
at Barnes and Noble's. How to Learn Anything Quickly, and
by Ricky Linksman.
yeah, and she talks about being kinesthetic, being tactile, being auditory, being visual, and then are you high right brain or high left brain, and how that affects learning. So kids who are ADD, high right brain, have or highly kinesthetic, they need to move around. So when I was teaching and I knew that I could tell somebody was highly kinesthetic, I said, look, stand in the back and move around,
Hmm,
because they weren't able to intake the information
hmm,
as
interesting.
strongly. And so schools are made for high visual, high left brain, and you're high auditory.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Can that change during your life, or are you always like high right brain? Sorry.
Well, you can grow, but I mean, whatever we are is a double-edged sword, right? I mean, that's why executive leadership, the corporate world, eventually, not initially, loves what I do, or it's so, well, it hits them at a visceral level, and some laugh, cry, weep, whatever, because they're high left and I'm high right. And so, they need to access what I can give them. I don't fit in their world, and sometimes I need to access what the high left and high visual do, to help grow, so that I'm not just a one note Annie.
Yeah,
By the
yeah.
way, speaking of one note Annie, I want to share with you something that I I perceived, and it was I would read about speakers, and oftentimes they'd be at the airport or they'd be at home and they'd start weeping, and they
Hmm,
didn't know why they were crying. This is private, they don't usually talk about it.
hmm.
And I intuited what it was.
What?
When you're always being a one note Annie, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Okay, everything's great. Everything's, when you're always being one thing, you get locked up, you get frozen, and the other part of you is weeping. It is and that's what it is. You're not accessing all of yourself.
Like the
I have a
clown
gal.
syndrome, huh?
What?
Like I guess you call it the clown syndrome. They're always playing the clown, but they're not necessarily happy. The circus clowns, you know?
Yeah, they need to be who they are. They need to not all of it. It's not I'm not a big fan of people being vulnerable by telling me how they've been a victim of this or that. I'm sorry. And, you are responsible for your life. Take care of it. You can say, I was here and now I'm here. That's not being vulnerable. That's letting people feel sorry for you. Being vulnerable is to reveal your truth, your perception, your whatever.
You hit on something a second ago about leadership, and you train executives. So if you don't mind, a side question. What is good leadership? Or what is leadership?
It's the same thing as courage. You cannot be courageous without doing something for someone. If you jump off a cliff, or you dive from a cliff, or you skydive, that's not being courageous. That's your thrill. Courageous is when you risk whatever for someone else. And so, oh, wow. To be a leader, you have to know yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the ugly will always remain in some form or another. It's there. Just admit it. Admit when you're wrong. It's also being able to say, I'm wrong. Excuse me, I was wrong here. It's being able to have boundaries. Being able to say yes, being able to say no, being able to say, I won't be discussing that. Being able to voice whatever. Just this is who I am. You're welcome to be whoever you are, and knowing the group you want to be with, the place you want to be. If you're the fellow who, his name will come to me, he's been writing a book forever, and he's the greatest thing in the book I recall was, if you're a mountain flower, don't plant yourself in the desert. If you're a desert flower, don't plant yourself in the mountains.
Yeah.
So find your place, and then you may be really good at something and it may be absolutely wrong for you. One lady who was a nurse told me of her husband, a doctor, right? Very elite, at least in this country, to be a doctor. And every lunchtime he would go in his car and have a sandwich and weep because he hated his work.
Oh.
And so quit.
Yeah.
Get a trailer, find a new way. It's your life. So anyway, what was the question? Oh,
that
leadership.
That was great. That was
and you have to have a heart to serve.
Yeah.
And you have to see what people are good at and what they're not. And again, that's why this book is so important.
Yeah.
I used it in my teaching, and everybody who works with people, because a lot of people do webcasts and they don't give a transcription. And some people aren't high auditory and they can't learn that way, and they need to have the transcript.
Interesting. Yeah, I wrote her down. Ricky Linksman. That's a good tip.
She has no idea who I am, and then I'm always promoting her.
Yeah, well, she should cross promote with you. That's what I would suggest.
I'll let her know you said so.
Yeah, I will.
I was talking to
I'll
Eric.
call her up. Maybe I'll do the next interview with her. Let's see if I can get her on an interview.
I love it. That's brilliant.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so what? Okay. Thanks, by the way. That question was not on the agenda. So what got you started in writing?
Oh, Eric. Oh, Eric. Oh, Eric. Oh, my. And by the way, when I wrote the book, I felt every single character's pain. I wept with them. I got fearful with them. But so all my life I read at least a book a week. And and I love stories. I love stories. And that's how I learn. If you give me a fact, if you give me a date, if you give me a place, I have trouble, even your name, I have trouble remembering. But if you tell me a story, I will never forget it. So, and when I was in high school in acting class, in drama class, Mr. Roach asked us to write a play. And I wrote a play and I gave it to my mother. It was a one act play. And she said, oh my God, I can't believe you wrote about our family. And I said, what are you talking about, Mom? I didn't write about our family. Oh, of course you did. Everybody knows that a writer's first work is autobiographical. So Eric, that squashed me.
Hmm.
I didn't understand it. I didn't know that it did. I was 16 at the time. I didn't know that it did, but it did.
But you
And
go ahead. Go ahead.
and and who did I marry? A
Who?
writer.
Yeah.
And no longer that's my story. But and so all for, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how long, 20,
Hmm.
30 years I've been wanting to write. But I kept thinking, oh, it's the same thing I
Hmm.
had the same fears that people with stage fright. That all of
Yeah.
the, so I had to look at my stuff. What did you write, Janice, about? So it was the same thing. Am I good enough? People won't care. Who am I? And so finally, I realized I needed someone to process with, and I hired someone to process with me as I wrote. And the other thing is, I had so much stuff. How do you say this is only what it's going to be?
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Yeah, I don't agree with the autobiographical thing because who knows which one was your first work? You can say, well, it's my second work. Or author, all of his or her works are autobiographical. You always sneak something in there.
truly,
So,
truly, yeah.
yeah. So, well, that's awful that they kind of crushed your dreams with that one comment, huh?
Well, somebody I talked to later said, but did you hear what she said? She said, all authors. She said she was naming you as an author and you didn't hear that.
Yeah, you got it.
Wasn't that terrific?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
So
great.
she was kind of, what do you
A
call it?
backhand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting indeed.
And
Indeed.
people can only give us what they know, what they think, where they're
Yeah.
where they're at. I mean,
Well,
you know,
sometimes an unsolicited opinion is not good, you know?
tell that to a parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How many unsolicited comments
Oh,
have you given?
let's not go there because
Okay.
we'll
Yes.
never get back.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Uh,
Take me where you want to go.
yeah. Do you get writer's block?
Hmm. Well, do runners get runner's block? Do basketball players get basketball block? Do swimmers get swimmer's block?
Hmm. Never heard of it that way. When you put it that way, I guess everybody has a down point at some
Yeah,
time.
but you got to keep moving.
Yeah.
You got to keep moving. And so, probably they haven't thought it through. Sometimes they say write the beginning of the next chapter before you come in the next day. But
Mhm.
if you have a mind map, if you have some sort of structure, it doesn't have to be precise. Everybody's different. Or sometimes you've just worked it. You're frozen because it's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit here. And you
Yeah.
just need a break. And
Yeah.
so go have a cup of coffee, go out and be in nature, run water, you
Yeah.
know, because our ideas come when we least expect it.
Yeah. I ask that question because my problem now is after I've got the first draft done, I don't like the book anymore that I'm writing. I don't like the story. I have to throw the whole damn thing away and write a new one.
I did
So,
the same thing, Eric. I
yep.
wrote a complete book based on teacher students.
Hmm.
And I knew that wasn't the premise I wanted.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until, and I kept thinking, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I was on the lookout. And as I said, my hairstylist happened to mention, her
Yeah.
nephew and his wings, and boom. that did it. I had the premise. I
Yeah.
had this.
Yeah, I don't have writer's block right now, but I've got that problem. I have to re-engineer the whole story or
No,
something, or
start a new book,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
or tell it another way.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
doing a how-to book or a
No,
story?
it's my first novel. Until now I've done novellas, 10,000 words around. Those are easy, kind of, but not a novel. So,
Well,
yeah.
you could have a book of novellas.
Yeah, I'm trying that approach, but
Yes,
still,
it would be wonderful on an audiobook.
yeah. Well,
I
I'm the type of person that outlines, and now I'm just I have the outline and started the book and the outline. Now I just don't like the story anymore. I got to fix the outline or the story, the
May
whole
I
thing.
suggest
Yeah.
something to you?
Sure.
Have you heard the term beta readers? It's having
Oh,
friends.
beta readers. Yes, yes, yes,
Beta. Sorry,
yes,
sorry. Yes, thank you
yes.
for the correction.
Yeah.
Beta reader. It's having. I created what I wanted to know. I had a list of questions, and I asked several people to do it, and one gave me his feedback. You don't want feedback telling you what to do. You want them to tell you what worked and what didn't work. And his feedback was invaluable to me to make me understand
Mhm.
what I needed to do. So that could work, or you could have a reading in your home, or you
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
or you could talk through with a friend
Mm.
things that are bothering you, and
Thank
it'll.
you very much. You see how good you answered my question. That now I'm going to try some of those. I didn't think about the beta readers because I'm all into that book launching stuff and all this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you're right. What about the beta readers? You
listen,
know?
I was on that track too. It's like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that. And then I finally said, sweetheart, chill. And
Yeah.
then I just took some deep breaths and I said, what is it that you want to do next? What do you want to do with the rest of your life? How do you want to live? And I got back off of what everybody said, and I got back to I asked God, what do we want to do? And I got back on the track I'm going on.
Mhm. Those are some words of wisdom there. Yep. I want to bask in that moment for a minute and then I'll get the next
Take it.
question to you.
You're getting a nice suntan.
Yeah.
You are so much fun, Eric.
Well, hey, I'm going to reserve you for your next book. When are you? Do you have another book coming up, or a book launch or something?
I Well, I'm going to relaunch this because I have some things I want to change, and I'm going to relaunch it. But
Hmm.
there's another story I've been longing to tell, and it's a very different premise than this, although it is about transformation, and it's called The Debt. At this point,
Working title.
yeah, working title, and it's about it's a true crime that happened decades ago, and 8 people converged on the path of a serial killer within an 8-hour span of time, and 4 were murdered and 4 lived.
Is USA or where was that?
Yes.
Interesting. Well, you're welcome back anytime. I like talking to you, and so let me know when you're, you know, ready
And
with that one.
what it's
I
about,
want that one on this podcast
yeah,
too.
yeah, and what it's about is how that incident manifested in their lives and 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 altered their lives.
Hmm. Okay, so if you're ready, we can do the blitz round.
What Take me wherever you want to go.
Okay, actually, it's not a blitz round. It's just short questions. Who is your favorite author?
Well, Charles Dickens, and I
Oh.
loved what he wrote in one of his books in the foreword. And at that time, I didn't know I'd become a writer. And he said, I miss my characters.
Hmm.
And I love my characters so much because, see, they take on a life of their own and they go where they want to go. And maybe you were too strong on your outline. Maybe you didn't allow the magic to occur. The outline is just for format, and then just let the magic come. So
that's a good tip.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So where was I? I get lost.
I'm sorry. Your favorite author, Charles Dickens, and what he wrote in the front of his book.
Yeah. So I miss all my characters terribly, terribly. And then let's see. I wrote a list here because I read so many books. It's like, oh my God.
Okay, what's your favorite book?
So many. So I love mysteries. I don't like terribly graphic mysteries, but I love David Baldacci. He's able to, go tell many different stories. I love Michael Connelly, and I love Lee Child. Sometimes he gets a bit too graphic for me, but he is something else. Harlan Coben, Elizabeth George, Karen Slaughter, Anne Percy, an interesting story, but one that has stayed with me and still makes music within me is Anne Patchett's book, Bel Canto. And it's called Bel Canto. That's a style of singing and opera singers. And it's about, there was a birthday party of I think the Japanese president, and she's brought in as a famous soprano American singer. And there's a terrorist attack, and they take hostages, but some live and some don't. But the whole thing is written as though it's a marvelous opera. It gave me that feeling. And by the way, if you saw in my acknowledgments at the end, I love opera. And the book is not based on Tito Capobianco, but I was a supernumerary, which is like an extra in an opera, and like an extra in a movie.
Yeah.
And I was on stage with Luciano Pavarotti, watching the great Tito Capobianco and his wife. She's choreography, he's director, and they are the most elegant in their discourse. And when I was on stage hearing Pavarotti, I was just taken up, lifted up into the heavens. It was just amazing.
That's so cool. Where was that?
That was in San Diego. Tito Capobianco was artistic director of the San Diego Opera at the time.
Cool. You stood on stage with Pavarotti?
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
That is awesome. You didn't tell me that. We're going to have to do something about that. Put it in the book or something. That's pretty cool.
And then you didn't ask me, but I'll tell you, one of my favorite artists is Claude Monet, and musician Aaron Copland. And okay, that's enough.
Yeah, that's what I love about living in Europe. I can see some of these original artworks, and yeah, man, it makes you feel so small, So, man, I thought I was a good painter until I saw these old masters and stuff, and it's like,
years ago, I wasn't into art at the time. Let's see, is it called the Fricke or Frisk Museum in New York? A friend of mine who's a photographer had me go with him, and it was from the Impressionists from the not Moscow. It was St. Petersburg, and now it's it keeps changing in Russia, from their gallery, and I saw. And they had the gold ropes you couldn't go past, and there was a line back and forth, and you had to keep moving. And I saw a Cézanne, and it hit me like a hurricane blast. Yeah. And I was in shock, and I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, and I started crying, and my friend was humiliated, because I'm and people were waiting and waiting. And I said to myself, I can't leave because I may never see it again, because it was going back to what's the other city in Russia?
St. Petersburg?
St. Petersburg. Yeah. What was the name before that?
Anyway, Leningrad.
Yeah. But yeah. And there I went to see it.
Do you remember which painting it was? The name of the painting?
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because
Yeah,
it doesn't
it was
always happen, but sometimes you're in a museum
yes,
here and then damn, you're just blown away. Just
yes, and
and then
that's
you
why
just
I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
And that's why all of us need to dip into all the arts: ballet, music,
Mhm,
opera, watch sports if you're not into sports,
mhm.
all of life, because actually the same principles are in every art form, every, if you're a flower grower, it's the same
Yeah,
principles every
that's
time.
pretty amazing. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Are you still
So,
an artist?
not officially, no. I do graphics. I do graphic arts, but I don't do big canvases anymore. And there's nowhere to put them, you know. I don't want to just put them in my cellar, but
Oh,
uh,
you are so gifted, Eric.
well,
Everything
thank
you
you.
do. Wow.
Well,
Okay.
thank you very much. But let's get back to you. So,
Or yeah, our guest. Yeah.
yeah. Where were we? What is your number one productivity or life hack? You have any productivity hacks?
Declutter.
Ah, yeah.
Declutter mentally, emotionally, physically.
I haven't heard it that way before. Can you give us a little breakdown of that?
Yeah. So I'm at an age where most people have stopped,
Hmm.
and I feel I've been given so many assignments, and I've got to get them done. And it's and anytime I have a hard time with anything, I say to myself, it's not about you, Janice. Just get out of the way. And you're doing this for people who need it, whoever they are, wherever they are. So get with the program and forget about yourself and quit being, whatever. But so what do I mean? So I was getting a fog. I was just getting this terrible mental fog all the time. And I had written myself a list when I was 19, and everything I wrote it turned out to be absolutely true. But I'm I'm gluten intolerant. And so my sister could tell when I ate anything with wheat in it. I'd be on the phone and she'd say, Janice, what did you eat wheat? Because I would just get in a fog. I couldn't think. I couldn't, and I would feel depressed, and I would be highly sensitive. And it had nothing to do with anything except what I was ingesting, and
Wow.
also all milk products.
Mhm.
So I finally bit the bullet and said, "Look, do you want to serve people, or do you want to be a big baby and be all about you and eat what you want and just forget about it?
Mhm.
Just declutter the body." So I quit all wheat, and I don't eat anything except rice crackers, and I quit all. And now I can think clearly because I want to think clearly. Why? So I can keep giving to who needs me. And the other thing is that I was sitting, writing the book. And I said, get up and move, sweetheart. You got to move. So we have a beautiful park, and I go out in the park and I see nature and I see flowers and the dogs. I love the dogs. And and that gets me. And then I do my devotionals, and then I have my oatmeal, and I've got to do that. And so my mornings are not for anybody
Mhm.
but me getting myself in gear so I can serve.
That wasn't that on one of my other questions. Do you have a morning routine? Tell me about these
Oh,
devotionals.
that's my faith.
Yeah, and is it like
I
a
read the
morning?
Bible, and then I
Mhm.
read things by others, and I
Mhm.
pray,
Mhm.
and I ask for the Holy Spirit to guide me.
Mhm.
And anytime it's all about me, I just keep giving it up. It's not about me. It's not
Yeah,
about me. It's not about me.
it's cool. Right on.
Thank
Yeah.
you for asking. Thank you for probing, because I'll only go as far as you probe.
No, don't worry, don't worry. I ask that because one of the people I follow is a Orthodox Christian, and he does his morning prayers. It's his morning routine, and that's when you said devotionals. I said, aha, okay. And
But it's
yes,
all of it. But you've got to get the mind. You've got to get everything in gear. The mind, the heart, the body,
mhm,
and clear out, clear out, clear out.
Hmm. Yeah, and I
And
know a guy. He's older, a Vietnamese man, and he wakes up every morning at 5 and meditates for so many minutes, but does exactly the same thing, but it's meditation. And he's really cool. He's a kung fu master. I'm gonna have to get him on the. Yeah.
yes, do. And listen, you know Clint Eastwood, right? You know why he's so amazingly productive and he's in his 90s?
Oh no,
He,
why?
he's been doing a meditation, I think, for an hour every day for decades.
Hmm.
And that's how he's able to be so productive because he's cleaning. He's decluttering and he's coming into the work clean.
I like this mental decluttering. I haven't thought of it that way before.
Well, you can use me because I created it. I mean, do reference me because that's what I.
Okay, I shall. So, here's another one, trick question. What's the one thing you would do differently if you had to do it all over again?
I would forgive earlier everyone who hurt me, and I would ask forgiveness for everyone I hurt.
That's deep. I
And
like that.
I would ask for what I needed.
Mhm. I think we'll just leave it right there, huh? That one, yeah, that has some impact. Okay. So what's on the horizon for you? Any next projects?
Well, yes, I'm getting ready, and we might as well give them my author website. It's Janice Dean Live, JaniceDean.live, JaniceDean.live. And it's funny because when I was younger, I had a touring company called Ages of Drama Live. And
Mhm.
here I am, you know, it's in the work because it's all about being alive. But have them go to the author website, and with by next week we'll have everything up about courses that we're going to do, and webinars that we're going to do. And one of my favorites is, the precursor to it is, why does everyone else have a wonderful life?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the retreat afterwards is called Come to the Edge and Fly. And it's a decluttering, in every way, and getting to your life,
Hmm.
your aliveness.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have time for more questions?
I love it. I'm here for
Awesome.
you.
If you could eat dinner with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be?
No. I'm just, it's of course Christ,
Hmm.
but I would love, I adore, some of the guys in the Bible. Joseph, oh my God. I love Joseph so much. You know, he was a little brat. He was a little conceited brat,
I
and his
heard.
brothers
Yeah.
just got sick of it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, all the trouble because of it. See, our ego can kill us and,
Hmm.
get us in big trouble. But and then, oh, the forgiveness that he gave his brothers, it's heartbreakingly beautiful. His brothers came back, and then he said, by the way, I'm your brother, and I love you, and I will protect you, and I will.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful story, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
Okay. What is
And George Washington. George
oh,
Washington.
did
He
he
was a,
have wooden teeth?
yeah. They look good though, didn't they? He
Ooh,
was a
I'd like
he
to
was a
find out.
he was a nifty guy.
Super interesting.
Oh God.
Wow, we could do 5 podcasts about
His
that
own
guy.
man,
Yeah.
totally his own man.
Yeah, I really revere that guy.
Ah, me too. Me
Real
too.
that's the leader. He is a leader. He was a
That's
real
right.
leader.
That's
Yeah.
right. And the other thing is that a leader will get in the trenches with you.
Yeah. Hmm.
I met a 4-star general, General
Hmm.
Hollingsworth, who passed. And I met him on the plane, and he was so filled with joy. He and his wife, and by the way, they got married. Her first marriage is 72. And
Wow.
and when he was in the restroom, his wife told me that they went to a gathering of all of his men, his boys, and they loved him so much because he loved them and he believed in them, and he would do whatever it took for his men. That's a leader.
Yeah, he led from the front, huh?
General Hollingsworth.
Cool. All right, one more question.
Yes.
What's the one question you wish people would ask you?
Help me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's a great segue again to your website, JaniceDean.live.
Yep.
That's interesting. I didn't know that .live was a domain.
It just came out.
Ah, cool.
And the other thing is, in my book, I had used a song in my book, and all of a sudden I thought, is it in public domain? And it was not. And so I went through 600 songs, and I found the song, and it had just come into public domain January of this year, 2021, Irving Berlin song.
Good timing. All right. Well, Janice, it's been real. And you're going to come back for your next book, right? Or anytime you want, for that matter.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. You'll have many marvelous guests to follow.
Yeah.
And God bless all your listeners. And I hope you do what you were what you were gifted to do in this life, because you're valuable. You are of value, and the world needs you. Maybe just one person, but you are so needed. God bless you.
Thank you, Janice.
Arrivederci, bambino.
Arrivederci.